All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to our session this morning, still morning for all of us. This is the ACRL, getting involved with ACRL, how to serve, how to volunteer to serve in ACRL. So we're going to give you an overview today of how you can get more involved with ACRL, the different levels of involvement, and some tips on how you can kind of increase your chances of possibly being selected to serve on a committee. My name is Jody Bording, and I am your host MC for today's session. And there we go. I am currently the chair of the ACRL Membership Committee, and I and the Continuing Education Services Manager for Amigos Library Services, which is based in Dallas, Texas, and St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm reporting, coming to you live from St. Louis. And I have been involved at ACRL on many levels over my 12 years of membership. So, and I have with me a very esteemed panel to talk more about ACRL. We're going to do some introductions in just a moment, and then we'll talk about the organizational structure of ACRL. And then Irene Harold will be talking about division-level committee appointment process. Peter Hepburn will be talking about the ACRL Section Committee. And then we have Sabine Dantas and Laura Bonella, who will be talking about our interest and discussion groups. We will have time for questions and answers that you may have that you'd like to ask any of the panelists about the process. And then we will be giving you a link to an evaluation form so you can let us know how this session went. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to our panelists. Irene Harold is ACRL past president and has also served as an ACRL board of director at large, a section chair for CLS, and many other committees and liaison roles. She is currently the librarian of the College at College of Worcester, and was previously the university librarian at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and dean of the library at Keene State College in New Hampshire, and director of the library at Daniel Webster College, also in New Hampshire, and a public services librarian at Monmouth College in Illinois. Peter Hepburn is the head librarian at the College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita, California. He previously worked in multiple departments over the course of 12 years at the University of Illinois at Chicago, and earned his MLIS from McGill University in Montreal. Peter is currently chair of the Community and Junior College Library section of ACRL, a counselor at large on ALA Council, and a member of ALA's Budget Analysis and Review Committee. He has served on ALA's executive board, on several other ALA, division, and roundtable committees, and is currently co-chairing the pre-conference committee for the 2019 ACRL National Conference. Sabine Dantas is the outreach librarian at Lynn University Library in Boca Raton, Florida, where she promotes the library as the intellectual center of campus through marketing, outreach, programming, events, research help, exhibitions, and publications. She currently serves as co-convener for ACRL's Library Marketing and Outreach Interest Group, and is the communications manager for ACRL's Education and Behavioral Sciences section. And finally, we have Laura Bonella. She is the Academic Services Librarian at Kansas State University and is the chair of the Social Sciences, Education, and Business team. She's been active in ACRL's EBSS and WGSS sections for many years and is the current past chair of WGSS. And she's also the convener of the ACRL Balancing Baby and Book Discussion Group. So just a little bit about the structure of ACRL, kind of how ACRL works and its structure. We have the board of directors, and from the board of directors, you will see division-level committees. There are 51 division-level committees. There are 16 sections of ACRL, and these sections include EBSS, WGSS, the Women and Gender Studies section, the Instruction section, and more. And then within those sections, there are various committees, and altogether there are 300 plus section committees. Then we have our discussion groups. These are groups that are not as formal as the sections and are centered around specific topics like library marketing and outreach. And there are 21 different discussion groups, and each of those discussion groups needs a convener every year. And those conveners just coordinate the topics being discussed throughout the year through various channels, as well as midwinter and annual meetings. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. And then finally, we have our interest groups. And there are 20 different interest groups, and each of those interest groups need a convener each year. There are also our ACRL chapters. These are independent legal entities that have volunteer opportunities as well. So there's various ways to get involved with ACRL. Now, just a little bit about the timeline, what you can expect. The volunteer form to fill out to volunteer for a committee, that online form actually opens up today. So today is the first day that you can go in and fill out the volunteer form. Emails will be going out with the link and will be posted on ACRL's social media platforms. And that volunteer form will be open through February 15th, 2019. So you got 2.5 months to get that form filled out. The ACRL vice president and the section vice chairs, they are the ones that actually make the committee appointment decisions. And that will happen once that form closes on April 15th. And those decisions will be made sometime in April 2019. Volunteers begin their appointment on July 1, and so between April and July, you will be getting an email for more information. More information about the committee appointment if you were selected. And for more information about that process, there is a link to a College Research Libraries news article for more information. Just a couple of things to note before I turn it over to Irene. The committee service is limited to 5 years of consecutive service on each committee. So for example, this is coming up to the end of my 5th year on the membership committee, so I will be rotating off to let some new fresh perspective, fresh eyes, new members come on board the committee. Members should not hold more than 3 committee appointments at the same time. And ACRL has about 1,800 volunteer opportunities total, but because appointments are staggered, there's only about 500 appointments that are made each year. And I think that's very important to note and keep in mind as you are filling out the committee form. So just because you may not be appointed this year, that doesn't mean give up. Just keep trying every year. I think it took me 2 or 3 years of trying to finally get on a committee with EBSS. So don't give up hope. And you cannot be officially appointed until you accept your appointment via email. And that email will be going out between April and July. And once you've accepted the appointment via email, then you are officially on the committee. And again, your service will begin July 1, 2019. All right, well, I'm going to turn it over now to Irene and give her the presenter ball. And Irene is going to talk about the ACRL division committees.
Thank you, Jody, and hello, everyone. As Jody noted, there are many different volunteer opportunities, but only so many openings each year that can be filled. So most committee folks rotate in a staggered manner. So there's always some continuing members with new members. Of course, with a task force, everyone would be new since it's a focused, limited duration group with a specific charge. Given the potentially competitive nature of these appointments due to the number filling out volunteer forms versus the slots that are available to be filled, I want to give you a few tips on how to make yourself stand out. I will call this the crumple your ticket approach, which I'll explain at the end of my section of slides. So I cannot overemphasize the power of networking. When you attend regional, national, online meetings, see who else is attending. Let them know of your interests and build a network to help each other be alerted to opportunities. Give your business card, get an email, make a connection, and maintain it. My first ACRL section appointments were direct results of my work on a statewide committee. It was Illinois Godort, when one of the members became a section chair, and I asked if she needed help with anything. My second ACRL section appointment was a result of a leadership development program I had participated in, and one of the other attendees became a section chair. So again, I reached out and asked if I could help with anything and was appointed to a committee. If possible, attend meetings virtually, face-to-face, however the group you wish to join meets, or join their listserv. At least read their minutes. Check the ACRL website. Explore what work they've been doing. Division-level reports are published in the news magazine of the association, CNRL News. See what you're interested in participating on. Do not just lurk, but introduce yourself, at least to the chair of the committee or the task force or the editorial board. Learn what they're working on and think about what knowledge, expertise, or specialized skills you have that could contribute to that work. Many committees welcome unofficial members, such as on a subcommittee, and this can turn into an official appointment as you're viewed as a valuable contributor to the work plan. I know unofficial members who have helped maintain web pages, contribute to social media, offered to update a toolkit section, etc. The person doing the appointments often asks the chair to let them know of folks they would like to have appointed who have filled out the volunteer form. I can't say that enough. You gotta fill out the volunteer form. You cannot be appointed unless you fill the form out. Therefore, let's walk through that form, as it can be a little tricky to navigate. The tiny URL that you see on the screen takes you directly to the form. This is what it looks like. Nowhere on this page can you see how to focus it on ACRL. You have to use the pull-down menu to select ACRL for division committees or ACRL/section acronym for section committees. So once you use that little pull down and select ACRL, this is what it should look like. You should see ACRL in the blue box. Use this setting for division level committees, task forces, or editorial boards. If you're unsure what a division level committee might be, first check out ACRL's Plan for Excellence, as the 4 goal area committees and their charges are listed. The 4 goal areas: value of academic libraries. Sorry about that sound. I will close a few things. So the value of academic libraries, student learning, research in the scholarly environment, and new roles and changing landscapes. Those are the 4 goal area committees. There's also a new signature initiative on EDI, and I'll talk a little bit more about where you find information to contribute about that on the form. From the ACRL homepage, you can select About ACRL and navigate to the Directory of Leadership. Under that, choose Committees. This takes you to a page with a list of over the 50 division-level committees, which includes editorial boards, award committees, goal area committees, membership, etc. By clicking on the hot links, you can read a committee's charge, see the current members with the years of their appointment, and read a little more about their work. Oftentimes you'll find links to other content about the committee. Explore these too. All right, so you've got ACRL on your form. let's see if I can get back here. And you click Submit, and it shows you what you'll see. So make sure under the light blue banner, it says ACRL Volunteer Form. I can't tell you how many times people said to me, I went and filled the form out and volunteered, but they didn't check to make it sure it said ACRL, and they had actually filled the form out for ALA committees. So, and then they wondered why they were never contacted to serve. This is why. So make sure it says ACRL Volunteer Form. All right. When you click on Next, you'll see the long list of things you can volunteer for. My recommendation is that you select based upon your pre-research of the committee or committees the specific ones you're interested in. While you have the option to choose any division level committee, which is the top box, if you do select that, then it's more challenging for the appointer to evaluate where you would be most effective and interested in serving as a volunteer. Choosing any does not make you distinctive. This is the most important part of the form, and I do encourage you not to leave anything blank. That said, there will be a new set of optional questions. Because ACRL has made a core commitment to increase equity, diversity, and inclusion, this is that signature initiative that I spoke about, in their division level appointments, they want to hold themselves accountable, so they're asking members to provide some additional information when they volunteer for committees. Responding to the questions on EDI is optional, but your participation will help the association to know where we stand and where we can do better. They'll make annually the sharing of an anonymized report about the appointments and to make sure they're making progress toward greater diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you have questions about how this information will be used, you can contact the staff member, Mary Jane Petrowski, or others. All right, so how do you fill the rest of this form out? So as someone who has done division level appointments, I can't emphasize how crucial it is that the information you provide helps them to select those with special knowledge, expertise, interest, and skills. How do you contribute to the committee's work? If you are new to the profession, are there things you did previously that would relate? Mention them. When filling out the why are you interested in a committee appointment, it's crucial that you specifically reference the committee, or if you must, committees, you most desire to serve on and why. Do not generically respond that you wish to serve. Everyone who fills out the form wishes to serve. Do not state that you need committee service for tenure, promotion, evaluation, review process. That's an assumption because we're academics. Tell what you can do for the committee, why it's a particular interest for you, how it relates to your position or your aspirational position, or any other thing that will make you capture the interests of the person doing the appointing. Those doing the appointing literally look at hundreds of volunteer forms. Sometimes they're looking for geographic diversity, institution type diversity, gender diversity, diversity of time in the profession. You don't know what the needs of the committee are, but do not ignore the opportunity to sell what you can contribute. It will make you stand out. Be truthful, but be creative. Do not leave the form until you see this page. Check that the committee or committees listed are what you've selected, that there's a check mark in the box, and then you can click on the Submit button. That's how you volunteer for a division level volunteer experience. Follow my tips. It's kind of like when participating in a drawing that you should crumple your ticket a little before placing it in the big bowl. I can't tell you how many times I've won in a drawing just by doing that tip. Well, the preparation and attention you pay to filling out the volunteer form is just like that. Be specific and distinctive, i.e., crumple your ticket and submit. This is a numbers game. You saw the statistics on how many openings and have heard about how many volunteer. So do all you can to make yourself as attractive to the appointers as possible. And good luck. So I will stay on, but I am going to turn my video off so I'm not distracting you all. And here I keep passing it on to Peter.
Great. Thank you, Irene, and hello, everyone. As Jody introduced us, I'm Peter Hepburn from the College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita, California. I've been a member of ACRL since 2001, I think, and since moving into community colleges 6 years ago, I've been involved in the community and junior college library section, which I'm currently the chair of. But I've been involved in various sections throughout the years, including instruction section, ANSS, among others, and I hope to give you some insight into getting involved at that level of ACRL today. So why get more involved in a section? There's a couple of good reasons. First of all, the sections are communities of librarians who have professional interests very closely aligned with each other. They're a great place for us to connect with each other and share what are, I would think and hope, are similar experiences and similar knowledge about our libraries. They're a really terrific place to share. Second, it's actually, I think, easier to get involved in these more discrete parts of ACRL. There are a lot of available committees and other activities, and because the sections are smaller units than ACRL is overall, it's often easier to volunteer and be appointed. So as Jody pointed out earlier on, with 300 committees, there are many, many committee positions available. In CJCLS, the Community and Junior College Library section, for example, we have only 6 committees besides the executive committee, and we also have a task force on top of that. But there are no formal caps on the numbers of committee members in any of those committees in my section. And in the past year, when I was the person making the appointments, I offered appointments to every single person who volunteered, as a matter of fact. Now, that may not be the case in all sections. Some of the sections are quite a bit larger, instruction section, for example. But there's a good chance that you may get appointed. You might not have to crumple your ticket quite so much, in other words. You are permitted to join as many ACRL sections as you like. And so if you scan this page here and you see that there's a section that you didn't realize existed and you think you want to get involved in it, you can actually add membership to that at any time. You don't need to wait until the next time it comes up for your renewal of ALA and ACRL. You can add at any time. I would encourage you to click on the links to any of these different sections and take a look at some of the work that they're doing, whether that might be in terms of conference programming or newsletters and blogs or listservs or anything else that they may be doing. Highlighted down at the bottom of the page, you'll see a link to the volunteer form. Irene brought this up, and I'm going to emphasize this as well. If you don't submit the form, the people doing the appointments have no way of knowing that you're interested. You absolutely must submit that form and indicate it, or else you'll be passed over in the appointment process. So Irene gave a really great overview of the step-by-step of how to do it, and I just want to emphasize that part. If you're interested, please, please, please submit that form. There are multiple ways to get involved in the different sections, and although committee work is one that I'm going to focus on the most, I'll circle back to that in a moment and just take an opportunity to point out some of these other things here. The sections vary from one to another, but there are discussion group conveners that are needed. It's also possible to be elected to the section executive committee as the secretary or a member at large, or even if you want one day to stand for election to be chair. You might have that fun one day as well. The most important thing, and I'll come back to this later in my section, is just be an active member. Contribute to the listservs. Attend conference programs. Show up for committee and governance meetings. Most meetings that take place, whether they're virtual or they're in person, are open meetings. And if it's a meeting at a conference, you'll be able to look in the conference program to see whether or not it's an open meeting. but barring something like a book award or some sort of personnel matter, they're open meetings and you're welcome to come and observe. Sit and listen, ask questions where there are opportunities for you to ask questions, and support the activities of the section. And then, of course, there are committee membership opportunities. In order to be a committee member, first and foremost, you must be an ALA, an ACRL, and a section member. That kind of seems obvious when I say it, but in the past when I've been making appointments, we've had to go in and tell people, oh, you need to join the section. We're glad that you're interested. Just go add the membership. So do make sure that you are up to date in your membership and that you are a member of the section for which you want to volunteer. You will need to attend meetings. But when I say meetings, it's either in person or virtual, and more likely, in fact, to be virtual, I'd say. Much of the work that the committees in my section is doing takes place online or through conference calls or emails or various methods like that. So I would say check with the committee chair, and the committee chair for each committee should be listed on the website for the section, and see if that's the committee that you're interested in. What is the work like? How often do they talk? Is it virtual? Are there any in-person meetings at all? If you do get appointed to a committee, then be a member fully. Be a good member. Contribute and participate however you can, and be part of the conversation that's taking place. And if there are communications that are going around, respond as promptly as you can. And of course, we all have things at work that take priority, things in our home life that take priority as well. But if you do decide to become a committee member and are successful in it, then I hope you commit fully to it. For many committees, as I mentioned, there really is no conference attendance requirement. And in fact, requirement is probably too strong a word. I was, before this session, reviewing last year's session, and Mary Jane Petrowski from ACRL was reminding all the participants that there's not actually a formal requirement in ALA and ACRL for committee attendance in person, by and large. Most of the committees do their work virtually, and even those committees, such as local arrangements or conference programming, that may have a focus of a conference event as their work, you can probably take part in those quite easily virtually, even if it's recommended or advised that members be at the annual conference or other in-person sessions. Committee chairs themselves are frequently part of the section executive committees, so it's often recommended that they attend conference, but again, it's not a requirement per se. So within my own section, it's relatively easy for a committee chair who cannot make it to conference to submit a report. And we'd be able to go off that report when we get to their part of the meeting. So again, check with section and committee chairs about whether attendance is recommended, but otherwise, committees should be able to accommodate members who can only participate virtually. If you want to volunteer for a section, then, when you go into that form, you can see that your section affiliations will automatically display. So that's the first hint that if you want to be part of a committee in a different section, add that section, and then it may take a day or two when you get confirmation, you'll be able to drop it down in that menu. So here, for example, you'll see someone who wants to be a member of the instruction section, and they've got that in the drop-down menu for them. You'll notice that there's no option to volunteer for all the committees in that section, and here you see all of the ones for the instruction section. You are welcome, however, to check off multiple options. To be honest, there are some committees that are probably always going to be more popular than others. In the case of the community and junior college sections, even with only 6, there were 1 or 2 committees where I had to go out to the listserv a few times and say, I really need some more volunteers. Please submit the form. Let me know of your interest. So if you are interested in multiple committees, do check off all of the ones of interest. It gives the section appointing person more leeway, a little more discretion in what they can do, a little bit more ease in what they can do. When you're filling out the form, let us know about you. What are your professional interests? Both at work, what sort of things do you do in your library, or if you're still a student, then what sort of interests have you been pursuing in your program? And within ACRL and ALA, that gives us some sense of what might be a good fit for you in the section committees. Also, what past experience have you had? Have you had no experience at all? Then I think the sections are an incredibly great way to get a toehold in ACRL. You just tell us what you're interested in. And if you don't get a committee this time, volunteer again, and volunteer for other options as well. You know, it's not going to happen every year, but there will be an opportunity that will come up for you at some point in the future. And committees, again, I want to emphasize, are not the only way to get involved in ACRL. You can see some of the other options here, and I've mentioned one or two earlier. But the best way, quite simply, is to participate, to show up, whether that means in person or virtually or both, and take part in what the sections have to offer. So read the publications, the newsletters, the blogs, the social media postings, and respond to them wherever you get the opportunity. Attend the programs that they put on at conferences, or if they have webinars or virtual meetings, anything like that. I think the sections offer some terrific and really very easy ways to get involved in smaller, discrete communities within ACRL. And trust me, we would be glad to see you at any of them, whether it's in person or any of our virtual events or social activities. We'd also be really glad if you decide to volunteer. So thank you all for the opportunity to talk about the sections. And if you do have any questions, feel free to contact me. Again, my name is Peter Hepburn. My phone number is 661-362-3758. And with that, I'm going to hand the ball over to Sabine.
Hello. So I'm going to be talking about the ACRL interest groups. I'm officially a convener for the library marketing, a co-convener for the library marketing and outreach interest group. And so it's been a really great, I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. It's been a really great opportunity to be a part of the library marketing and outreach interest group. And I got involved by filling out a statement of interest. So in our Facebook page, they put out like a call for co-conveners. And so I filled out the form and I wrote something. I tried to write something as meaningful as possible because I really love the group and I wanted to contribute to the group. So make sure you really think about your statement of intent as well, because we look at that. So some of the things that you need to be aware of is that the interest groups do address new and evolving areas in the academic librarianship. So my area, of course, as an outreach librarian is marketing and outreach. So that's how I got involved. I got involved by looking for the things that I was actually interested in. So library marketing outreach was one of those things. So one of the things that that you need to do is to basically have your, make sure you select library marketing and outreach interest group in your official ACRL membership. There is no cost. Also, if you volunteer for an interest group, it's a 3-year leadership commitment, and the call for volunteers is usually in the spring. So you need to start looking between February and April. And then the formal positions are incoming convener and convener and past convener. Right now I'm a convener. So next year I'll be past convener. So in May, there's some points that we do start to pick the leaders and pick the people, and it happens for us around May, June. So you want to start to look before May for those things. Also, there is informal working groups that sometimes happens through these interest groups, and we sponsor annual conference programs as well. Okay, so some of the responsibilities for the IGs are scheduling and promoting meetings, submitting meeting agendas and minutes to the ACRL staff. There is an ACRL staff that you will get, assigned to, and you have to submit things and questions to that person. They're there to help you. You moderate your email list, your online community. We have a Facebook page, so we use that a lot to kind of, interact with our interest group members. Also, we appoint moderators. Sometimes, of course, every year you have to submit a Plan for Excellence report in July. Also, you have to petition for the IG to continue if up for renewal. And also, you get a chance to serve on the Communities of Practice Assembly. And then you get the chance to select incoming conveners for next term. So you'll be working with those conveners, and you get a chance to really read some of the things that they are interested in, and maybe some things will help, you or the group move forward. So you want to be looking at that if you get selected for a convener position. And also, you can be involved as little or as much as wanted or needed. It's not as pressure filled, but you do want to, if you do accept a convener position, you do want to be completely involved, because it's a great experience. I've had a great experience being a convener and being involved. Next thing is, this is our interest groups. This is the ACRL interest groups partial list. This is not a full list, but this is some of the ones that are, I think, active and people are, talking about and things like that. We have the Academic Library Services to International Students. We have Access Services, African American Studies Librarians, Asian, African, and Middle Eastern Studies, Contemplative Pedagogy, Health Sciences, Image Resources, Librarianship in for-profit educational institutions, LIS Education, Library Marketing and Outreach, Research Assessment and Metrics, Residency, Systematic Reviews and Related Methods, Technical Service, and Universal Accessibility. So those are some of the interest groups that are available, and the link is below that you can see the full list of groups. So I'm going to pass the ball to Laura, and thank you so much. If you have any questions, my email is sdantis@lynn.edu.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm glad you're all here, and I'm happy to tell you about ACRL discussion groups. So as Jody said, I'm Laura Bonella. I'm an academic services librarian at Kansas State University, and I am the current convener of the Balancing Baby and Book Discussion Group, which is a group where we talk about balancing parenting with librarianship. So I invite you all to come to that if you are parents or potential parents or just interested in combining those two. So ACRL discussion groups are informal and flexible ways to discuss current issues. So it's a pretty informal structure. It's not something where you have to officially become a member. There's the whole list of listservs, and you can just join the listserv for whatever group you're interested in. Some of those are more active than others. I have to say that ours is actually not particularly active. I would like to make it more so. So join and talk. So there's a one-year commitment for a convener. So if you volunteer to be a convener, you're just volunteering for 1 year, but then you can renew. So I've renewed a couple times, and I've been the convener of this group for a while. The discussion groups have to meet at least once a year, either in person at ALA or virtually. And my group meets at midwinter and at annual. We meet in person at the conference. So the discussion groups don't sponsor annual conference programs, but the discussion forums can have a presentation. And the different discussion groups do things very differently. So some discussion groups will select a topic for each meeting and have a formal panel. My discussion group is very informal. We just basically sit and talk about whatever topics people bring to talk about. And then the discussion group will stay around as long as it's active. It will be dissolved if it's not active. So discussion groups, if you want to become a convener of a discussion group, the best way to do that, like everyone else has said, is to become part of the discussion group. Go to the discussions, participate in the listserv, and then if a call comes out for the convener, express your interest in that. And different discussion groups have different ways of picking their conveners. I think some maybe even actually vote on it, and ours is, like I said, more informal. So as a discussion group convener, you will schedule and promote the meetings, and that involves a couple things like giving your topic to ACRL so it can be promoted and promoting it anywhere else that you can. So I posted on a bunch of different listservs, and then you will decide on the meeting topic, like I mentioned earlier, whether that's more formal or less formal like ours. You will moderate the email list and your online community and moderate the discussion there. And then you can also have co-conveners, which can be a really useful way of starting the group. When I first started, I was a co-convener. with someone. And the good thing about that is if you want to meet in person and only one of you is going to the conference, then the other one doesn't have to worry about that so much. Or if you have a really active listserv, it can be helpful to have more than one person. So here's the big list of ACRL discussion groups. You can see that there are different ones for many different interests, and I'm not going to read these all to you, but there's the link there that you can go look at them. So there are discussion groups for lots of different things. You can probably find one that meets with your interests and join it and be part of the discussion. And so I am going to pass this back to Jody, and we will be open for questions.
Thank you, Laura. And just a couple of things before we open up for questions. If you'd like more information about ACRL's communities of practice, there is a link for that, as well as the link to Chapter 4 in the ACRL Policy and Procedures Manual that talks more about the communities of practice. So to wrap things up, if you have any questions following this presentation, please feel free to email me directly at borgerding@amigos.org. And if I do not know the answer to your question, I will point you to the right person who would be able to help you out. And we also have an evaluation form for this presentation. We do value your feedback. We do this webcast every year, so the feedback that you can provide us will help Dawn, who will be preparing this for next year, produce a outstanding webcast for next year. So again, please, I encourage you to fill out the evaluation form. So if you have any questions for our panelists, please go ahead and enter those into the chat box at this time. Oh, you're welcome, Rachel. And yes, I want to thank all of our panelists too for joining us today. And I want to thank everyone for attending as well. I was looking at the attendee list and see a lot of familiar faces, so it's familiar names actually. So it's good to see this large group that has an interest in becoming more involved. So it looks like Teresa has a question. What happens if you get on a section committee and then you never hear from the chair? I've emailed the chair once, but are there other steps I should take? So I'm going to let one of the panelists jump in with that, maybe Irene or Peter.
This is Peter jumping in, and oh boy, first off, I'm sorry to hear that. That really shouldn't be the case. I wonder, have you communicated with the other committee members about what is going on, if any of them are hearing it, if there's just some chance that randomly I don't know, you might somehow be forgotten, but is the committee still doing work? And then barring that, I think it's helpful to get in contact with the section chair and have a conversation with them to see if that section or if that committee can be encouraged along a little bit more. Irene, I don't know if you have any other suggestions than that offhand or if anyone else might.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, so all I was going to suggest was contacting the chair and the vice chair. Sometimes people who have volunteered to chair a section committee get ill, have life things that come up, and so they may or may not be able to respond as rapidly, or they might have put off the work for whatever reason. So it's always good to let the chair and vice chair know, and that way they can follow through for you and get back to you. And maybe they'll have a suggestion of something else that you could work on in the meantime.
And I just want to add, don't be afraid to ask. This actually happened to me one time a couple of years ago where I was appointed to a committee and never heard from anyone. And so it was a month or two into the service, committee service, and I asked the section chair what was going on, and come to find out they had my email address wrong, and so that's why I was never receiving the communication. So it could just be a simple mistake as that. So don't be afraid to ask. Claire would like.
Also
Oh,
wanted to
yes.
just add that make sure that on ALA Connect that you've enabled where you're receiving messages, because that's oftentimes a conduit for receiving those email messages. They would use that ALA Connect official rather than a direct email to you.
Another great point. Thank you, Irene, and thank you, Peter. Claire would like to know, will these slides be available at a later date? There are definitely some links I want to check out later. We are recording this, and that link will be going out to the membership pretty shortly, and I am pretty sure that a PDF of the slides will go out as well. I will be sure to email the slide deck to Janine to get that included. So the recording will be available on Wednesday. Are there any other questions that you would like to ask our panelists? And again, if you think of questions later, or if you are watching the recording and were not able to attend the live session and you have a question, please feel free to email me as well, because I know sometimes I think of questions after the fact, and once things have kind of percolated and digested in my brain, I have questions. So don't be afraid to email me. And again, please take a moment to fill out the evaluation form. It's fairly simple and straightforward, should not take very long at all, and we do appreciate and value the feedback that we receive. Any last minute questions or comments? All right, well, not seeing any more questions or comments pop up, we'll go ahead and close out our session. Again, I want to thank each of our panelists. Thank you, Irene, Laura, Peter, and Sabine for joining us today. And thank you to ACRL for putting on this presentation. And thank you to those in attendance for coming out today. I hope to see your names listed on committee rosters in the future, and good luck in becoming more involved with ACRL. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.